Welcome to the glasshouse, and today we'll be sowing Sarah Raven's Amethyst Sweet Pea Mix. We'll also be sowing Sarah Raven's Venetitian Sweet Pea Mix and Sarah Raven's Harlequin Sweet Pea Mix. We'll also be sowing one of my favourite sweet peas from Dobies, which is Miss Willmott, and the original Sweet Pea Seed Capani, and finally the Opal Sweet Pea Mix from Sarah Raven also. This is following on from our sowing last autumn. We're sowing some now in just early spring, so we can kind of compare and contrast with the sowing we did in autumn last year. So now you're going to watch us do a bit of sowing. We're mixing some of our own pig row compost in with some multi-purpose shop bart, and we've added a bit of seedling compost as well, just to lighten it up. We do that on ratios of about, I would say, 30% of our own compost, about 50% of shop bart, until we get our own composting up and away. We're in our third year, and as any gardener knows, composting takes quite a long time, especially when you're working on such a large scale. There's never enough of your own good compost to go around. So we're still using shop bought compost, which is peat free. I'm just mixing it in. Now if you wish, you could add some grit or vermiculite, but we add seedling compost that we have purely because it makes the soil nice and fluffy and aerated and ready to plant in. So we're going to fill some pots. We'd like to reuse pots on pig row when we have plastic ones, so we wash them out every autumn, store them away, give them a quick scrub, and Bob's your uncle. We're using seed trays rather than shuttle trays because I can then put a propagator lid over the top of them to keep them warm. We also like using quite deep pots when we're sowing sweet peas. We have used root trainers in the past. We're using root trainers this year again to compare and contrast, but there's nothing like a good pot that you can reuse year in and year out. You can reuse root trainers, but I find them a little flimsy. So we're starting with the Sarah Raven mix, and it's the Opal mix, and we're sowing 3 to a pot. You can do 2 to a pot, but these are quite large pots, and it's always nice to sow them when you can, 3 to a pot for an odd number, and then plant them out as is when all chances of frost have passed and you've hardened them off. What we do, we take our finger, push down to the first knuckle, drop in seed, 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 and pinch close, and then repeat until the entire tray has been sown. And finally, label, water, which I'll do later on when I've done all the trays, and more importantly, propagator lid. So I'll keep them nice and warm, because as you can hear today, if you listen carefully, it's another windy day on Pig Row. More wind, yay! Come on spring, roll on in. And finally a good water. then cover over with propagator lids and you're all done. As I said, cover with propagators, and then if you wish for a final touch, cover with fleece. As you never know, it's still March, we're in a heated glass house, and we could end up with a frost. It does happen. There you go. And hopefully in a week or so we'll have our spring sown sweet peas popping up.